I did my alcohol and awareness course, and I found it really interesting. I've discovered like the different sentences for Class A, B, C production and supply and um, possession of it, and it's life imprisonment for Class A drugs, really, not like heroin. My only question was the fact that if people are so good at producing and supplying these products and put them away for life when they're the only ones who know what they're doing, maybe they should be offered an import export license and then offered the chance to sell their product to the pharmaceutical companies who do generally make kind of the licensed products that we have in the UK, because it disrupts the chain, and they are actually, it's their money as well that's gone into it. So there's that something to think about. I mean, obviously possession is kind of, although they can charge people, sometimes they just let them off. People aren't always charged, and there's also the other added issue that if you have a license, then you can also do like drug trials. So there's the whole question about the 14-year sentence for supplying it in the UK, obviously because they're illegal. But certain things like cannabis is legal to possess, say in Saudi Arabia. People like to smoke it, as long as they're not kind of trying to distribute it and sell it, because it's the governments that get involved, and they have to kind of really control it. Obviously it's a controlled substance, so they have to make sure people aren't going to be abusing it. It's like a secondary market, isn't it? People still go and get hold of it. How do they get hold of these Class A products? They're somehow coming into the UK anyway, and if they were offered licenses and stuff, like as a like pharmacists, like some of them, then it's still controlled. It'd be like on a hidden register or something. You know what I mean? That's kind of the government are aware of. That way they still regulate it a little bit. They know who it is, who's in the supply chain, and so forth. But it's something to think about anyway. My course is going on from that. I'm doing bereavement one next, and the anger management one. We'll try to finish the anger management one this week. And I'm thinking, because I worked for DataStream Thomson Reuters for many years, it might be a good way to think about kind of going back into an organisation and doing like counselling within, because I used to have quite good relation, got on with people at work, until I kind of became a bit depressed and suffered, from all the exhaustion, the work hours, the hectic lifestyle. I mean, I had a very city lifestyle. We all used to go out a lot, because everybody gets married quite late as well. I got married at 31, so all of us had similar lifestyle, working, and kind of just enjoying our lives, spending a lot of money, and kind of just, like kind of, we all fall into sync. Everyone goes to the gym, eats out, goes out with their own groups of friends as well, not just people at work. We'd have a bit of work social life, but we tend to have our own groups that we used to hang about with. And it takes its toll eventually. So people need to talk, and also this bereavement one is really useful for people going through divorce and separation, and like the death of a relative, or divorce basically, or splitting up from a mistress, or somebody having an affair, things like that. People don't think that it affects them, but it does. Like everyone needs to talk and get it out. And the drugs issue and the binge drinking issue. Now, drugs is not really that common, although people do a little bit recreational. I don't think people can afford to be. It's not about the money. You can afford it financially, but it's a case of it will take its toll on their work and they'll suffer, so that they can't anyway. But even if they do, they can be offered help. For example, they don't have to be sacked. They can just kind of be offered a way of coming off of it, like rehab programs and stuff. And then there's the other added issue of alcohol and binge drinking, because what the problem with it is, like, if you get caught and you get charged with drunken disorderly behaviour, then you can go to jail, couldn't you? That's also a problem. So people have to behave themselves when they drink. So there's all of these kind of issues. UK are really strange, because I've picked up on something about contract law and about verbal agreements, and people, when we kind of, it's a different atmosphere. People tend to just have boyfriends a lot of the times as well, and girlfriends. They don't always, they do eventually get married, but it's also that, people, there's like a verbal agreement, verbal contracts that people make, like they'll only sleep with someone if they're going to kind of marry them, and then it doesn't happen. And there's a kind of like these strange laws that we have in the UK, so we've got to kind of question it a little bit. I mean, obviously people who've agreed and then they've split up mutually as well. It is also a point that, it would be like the same as, say, if they'd got married and divorced. Like me, I married my husband without knowing him at all, and we're still together after 15 years. And if we'd kind of got to know each other, we probably wouldn't be together. Being honest, we wouldn't. We'd be together because we've got kids, and kind of stay with someone because of that. And plus our working hours would have clashed, So there you go. It's not a case of everyone has a childhood sweetheart and they've married them and they live together forever, because it doesn't work out that way. You know, because I mean, you meet loads of people when you're younger, loads of people you could have ended up with potentially as potential partners, and it doesn't happen. You know, like even if you spend years like getting to know them, and then it doesn't work out, and because it just doesn't work out, or there could be somebody before that you kind of could have worked out, things have happened, and then that also didn't work out. So childhood sweethearts are also quite an interesting thing that people might have, like many people that they've known from childhood that could have been their childhood sweetheart, that it doesn't happen. It's a question of like what age you get together with someone, how well you know them, and relationship advice. For example, I mean, like Deirdre in Coronation Street, she married that Samir. Well, it's a very strange thing, wasn't it, marrying a toy boy? But I somehow went and married somebody I didn't know. What? How comes? Because we kind of get to an age where we want kids, and it's not an option to kind of look on the scene and see if there's anybody else about, because maybe wasted a lot of years, like kind of trying, giving people a chance, and it wasn't ever going to work out. They're concentrating on kind of getting a degree and a career, getting a foot in a decent organisation. So, and I did well. I feel I was quite blessed that I managed to get a decent job. I managed to stay there for like 10 years, and I've got a degree, you know what I mean, psychology degree. So it stood me in good thing. Since I've had kids, I've also benefited because I've learned how to cook, and I know how to look after kids properly. So, and I had to look after the home a bit better. I kind of have to clean and cook and do all of those things. It's never a bad thing, to be at home. Childminding is also an issue. They're talking about reducing the hours in the stock exchange. Now, when people have children, they do tend to end up just on one income, even whether both parents work, because childcare is so expensive. It ends up costing a lot of money, like children's centres, and they're never open till like kind of 7 o'clock when people are coming home from work. And then you don't. It's just kind of really, not the right hours to be picking kids up anyway. I mean, really, parents should be home by kind of 6 o'clock, 5:30, picking up their kids up, rather than leaving it so long. So you have to kind of live near it. It's very expensive. Rent and stuff is expensive, and buying properties is like really, really difficult, because eventually it's just one income that people live on, because they have to pay the rest in childcare and things like that. So and plus like paying for another paying for the family members, like the children, they cost money, don't they? They need to eat, they need, all of those things. So when you're single and you've got all that money, you just kind of have a millionaire's lifestyle, because all this additional money that later on, when you don't go out a lot, it's kind of spent per person, per head in the family. So you learn how to budget better when you've got more responsibilities. I mean, I used to spend a lot, go on holidays a lot, buy not that expensive clothes, but sometimes quite pricey ones compared to some of the stuff. And kind of you have a certain lifestyle, like eat out a lot every week, eat out, and to go out like parties and stuff. And cab fares cost money as well, because I don't drive. So people have cars. Most people have cars, and it costs them a lot of money. Mine would just kind of go on other things. Like I would spend like makeup as well. I mean, I wear makeup, so I'd spend a lot of money on that. So, and travel. So at the end of the day, I know city work